Sorry, I did miss that, but we have like 3 people online who reminded me. Sorry, folks. Well, yes, if you just got on recording, and I know some people missed the recording, I failed to start it right away, but I was just reviewing what we covered last class. So just go out to last class and look at those notes and stuff. All right, we have questions, and let's see if these questions will work for those class. Hopefully you still have that black and white clicker thing. I'm going to get plastic ones next week on Thursday or Wednesday because I won't be here Monday. Let's see if we can get the online. If you forgot it or lost it, or you're just not clicking, wait a second. Let me see if I have some leftovers. No. Sorry. Yeah, you can do that. Well, no, what the other question is, why do I have these? The real thing is to see, do you understand the materials? We have a question up here. Do you understand? If you get it wrong, you go, oh, I don't know that. And that sort of question just might appear on an exam. It's been known to happen. So yeah, if you don't know it, you better figure that one out. So let me see if I can start the online people. Yeah, let's try this. Okay. Online people, there's a question. You can start voting, and people here in class, those of you who have the picker cards, bring them out. If you don't have the picker cards, well, you don't get to vote today. Remember, of course, I don't know who's got what card. So even though when I look at the phone here, it tells me, oh, card, this is card 16, card 14. I don't know who's got it, so it doesn't make that much difference. All right, let's see if I can get this to do something. Oh, there it goes. All right, let's hold your cards up, please. And if you got them, you have to hold them up so I can see so the program can see the black and white side. Yeah, okay. Okay, remember, hold it the right way. Okay. Sorry. Oh, over here. Oh, yeah. I think that's a whole bunch of people. All right, well, a whole bunch of people thought it was B, or the answer was right. So let's take a look at this. Fred is a member of the clandestine group, which has write privileges to the text file. He's also a member of the weapons group, which has read and execute permission for the file. He ends up with right because, okay, yes. Because right has the highest privilege. The answer is right. So those who voted right, read, write, and execute, yes. The couple of people voted read online. They aren't right on it online. Yes, the answer was right. Which I didn't have quite a right group. Oh, okay, yeah, a little sloppy. Pay attention online because, yeah, I screwed up on the polls. I'm using old polls again. So the questions, the answers don't always match. Let's try again. And that was what we did. How do I run this again? Let me just try. Oh, there we go. There we are. Takes a little practice, but I got it. Okay. All right. So people online are voting. Everybody see the question? Okay, then the phone, please. I'm really here. Let's try this again. Put your cards up, please. This will, I said, but okay, there we go. All right. Oh, gotcha. All right. Oh, hard to, undetermined. Okay. All right. Read is the most popular answer. Everybody thinks, well, not everybody, but 7 out of 11 online, 8 out of 14 think it's So we have majority of you think it's read, and that was in fact the correct answer. Okay, I have a couple more here. Don't give up yet. So and here's another one. Last question in a row. Please, online, pay attention to the fact that A, B, C, D on the question are not exactly the questions that you see. And it's not a change mod question. I'm just using the access modes. Yeah, so ignore, if you're online, ignore the, assume you have done the change mod. We're looking at the question on the screen, which hopefully you can read. All right. Okay, we're doing pretty well at this stuff. Let's see, we got this one. All right, last question, maybe. Maybe last question. Do something. Oh, there it goes. All right, put your cards up there. We can see. Yeah, I got you. Okay. All right. We have a difference of opinion here. Okay. We have engineering group has write permission, marketing is read and execute, accounting has deny. And Susan's a member of all three of them. What does she get? She gets nothing. The answer is A. It says deny, or deny is the highest priority. So the answer is she gets nothing, which a bunch of people figured out, but not everybody. Strange as it is, deny is the highest priority. And so deny means she has no access, none. Okay. Good with that? Go through those things. Everybody happy with those? All right. Moving on then. Okay. And the poll. Share results. Okay. Okay. Last time, again, still reviewing a little bit from last time, we had objects and subjects, always objects and subjects. Remember that the subjects, which are on the left side of the thing, the rows are subjects, the columns are objects, that the subjects are also objects you could have, because they can be other humans or they can be programs. One program might be able to send a message to another program, that would be a write to it. Another one program might be able to read messages from that one, might be a read. And then there's execute. One program might be able to start another program. And again, we refer to the rows typically as capabilities and the columns as access control lists, which is useful because most systems do not keep a matrix. They keep, well, usually access control lists. With each object, there's a set of who can do what. And again, if you form this into groups, and you don't have to list all the people, you just have to list the groups and people belong to those groups. Okay. The formal definitions of confidentiality, integrity, and accessibility. Again, we have a bunch of objects, which are X, I's for information. Confidentiality is that there's no X that can, no subject that can get any of that information. So I can be disclosed to others who are not in group X, but others. So again, an example there, X is students and I is the final exam key. The final exam key should be confidential with respect to the students so they can't get the answers. But make sense? Integrity is a different concept. But yes, yeah, in general, by the way, what is it? Confidentiality means a group of people that you don't want to cannot see the information that you have, keeping it confidential from them. Integrity means they can't change it. Somebody cannot change the information. So here, again, is integrity with respect to a group of people X, that everyone in X trusts the information I. Trust means that you agree to, you trust the individuals or organization that made it, trust that it actually comes from them, it hasn't been changed, and you trust that it actually does come from them. Hasn't been changed along the way. And the last one, availability. It's availability if everybody can access it, if everybody in the group can access it. Okay, that's review. Any other questions from last time? Did I remember last time? Okay. All right. That's good? All right. I did a survey. Most of you answered the survey. And I asked a whole bunch of questions. Almost everybody wants the same name they have. There are a couple who aren't. And I just remember that well, yes, I did not bring my attendance. No, I don't do attendance, but every now and again, I do have to find out who's coming because the university is going to ask me who's not coming to class. Because there seems to be some sort of scam about enrolling and never going to class. And I don't know how that scam works. I've never tried it myself, but I have to report back to the registrar who never shows up. So I need to ask sometime, including the online people. Okay, but programming languages. So I asked what programming languages people know. And 66% of people, 2/3 of you, say you know Python, and about 58% know Java. It turns out that this isn't additive because there's a lot of overlap. Well, obviously it's not additive, 100 and some percent, but 87% of you know either Java or Python. But we're always dealing with the 11% who don't know any programming language. There's a couple others there. So we're going to deal with that somehow. Yes. Well, I had thought in the beginning that maybe everybody would know how to program. That doesn't seem to be the case, and we won't make it difficult to pass this class if you don't know how to program. We'll think of something to make your life fun. Okay. Today we want to discuss security policy, the details of policies for security, and particularly in the area of confidentiality, integrity, and availability. And so the big thing in confidentiality is the ability to give other people the access, and integrity is to understand the difference between that. Okay, so policies. A policy defines what is secure for your system. And how do you know if it's secure if you don't define what secure is? So security policies define what you're going to let everybody do to your system and what you're not going to let them do. You can define it either way, but usually it says you can do this and you can't do that, and then you can define each action as being either allowed or unauthorized. Now, so who cares? Well, of course you care because it's going to be on the test, but in the real world, it doesn't matter how wonderful your security system is. If you give the keys away to everybody, then it's not secure at all. Managing the system is very important. So you have to manage it well enough. You give the janitor full keys to everything, then maybe that's not going to be as good a system as you want. Okay. There are a whole bunch of security policies. I have boiled it down to a small number. If you read the textbook in full, and I did read chapters 5, 6, and 7, there are lots of policies and lots of different forms of the policies, but basically the types of policies you have are military or government type policies. And we'll talk about those. Primarily interested in confidentiality, and then there's the commercial policies. Companies, what kind of policies do companies have, which differ from what the government has because their goals are usually for integrity, not for confidentiality, and so forth. Okay. All right. We're going to be talking about mandatory access control. Mandatory access control means that you have a security policy for which the user cannot override or change. Normally, we deal with discretionary access control, and they have initials. Of course, this is computers. We have acronyms for everything. And so MAC does not mean media access, but it means mandatory access control. That means the system, usually the operating system, or some security system, determines whether you can or can't access an object. There's nothing you can do to change that, nor can you give access to anybody else. It's built in, and it's very strong. Discretionary access means you can decide. Now, most of the systems you talk about, like Unix and Windows, allow you to have discretionary access. You can say, this user can have access to this. So this user, can't have access to this. That's discretionary. Mandatory, you can. Now, the Linux, Unix systems generally have discretionary access controls. We talked about the change mod command, which allows you to change the access. You can just find what does the world or what do you have access to this object or device. There's a version of Linux called Security Enhanced Linux, often SE Linux, which enforces mandatory access control. It's an enhancement to Linux for people who are really concerned about security. And it was created by the National Security Agency, the NSA. And the NSA is, yeah, they're very concerned about security, as I should hope they will. And basically, SE Linux says, if you want to access an object, you can't, unless you have been given access to that. So the default is no, you can't use it. You can't access that device. You can't access that file or whatever object you're talking about, but you can't do it. Now, Android, the Android operating system that runs non-Windows phones, actually well, you've got, you have Android phones and iPhones. And that accounts for about 99% of the phones in the United States, maybe 98. There are a few Microsoft phones in the world. And then if you're in other countries, there are a couple other phone operating systems that are out there. But primarily in the United States, it's iPhones and Android phones. And there, yeah, well, in other parts of the country, or other parts of the world, there are other phones because some of them are cheaper. Let's face it, iPhones are not cheap. This is Android, and it's not really cheap. This was originally built on Linux. In other words, the kernel of the iPhone or the Android operating system was the Linux operating system, a few modifications to it. And then, back in version 4, I think now they're on version, I don't know, anybody know what version, without looking? 13, yeah, 13 or 14, I think it is. Well, way back in version 4, they started creeping into secure Linux. They put it in secure Linux with the mode that says, oh, we have it there, but we're just logging it. We're not actually using it. And then 5, 6, 7, and up to 8, they crept into using it more and more, hoping the users wouldn't get annoyed. And now they've got it fully implemented, and it provides mandatory access controlled objects. Now, in the Linux, as it's used on Android, you only have one user. I mean, I am the user of my phone. So having different access for users doesn't make sense. Instead, Android thinks of each application, each app you've got is a different user in a sense. And so each app has restrictions as to what it can access or how it can interface with other apps. And so it uses the secure Linux. It has mandatory access control and considers the apps to be users in the Linux concept, but it provides strict rules for how one app can access another app or the other app's information. Okay. There is a well-known mandatory access control model called the Bell-LaPadula. How would you pronounce that? Anybody? LaPadula. Okay, we're gonna go with LaPadula unless somebody can tell me better. Bell-LaPadula. Well, the Bell model enforces mandatory access control, and it's widely used by the government and the military in the United States. And of course, it was developed by Bell and LaPadula, who probably knows how to spell it. Way back, what is that? Almost 40 years ago. No, 50 years ago. Long time ago. Yes, and it's been around. It's been modified here and there, and it's been used by many other access control models. They start with the Bell-LaPadula model, and then enhance it or change it or modify it in a way to say it's better than the original Bell-LaPadula model. Oh, yes.
Do you care about dates and stuff like that? Could that also be on the exam?
Oh, no, I would never care about dates. No. That's just to let you know it's been around for a long time. Like me, I've been around for a long time. Longer than that. But no, I don't care about dates. Remember, I'm not going to ask you to tell me what I told you. Now, if I tell you that this person has this, is in this group, and this person has that group, and each group has different access rights, what access do they have to the object? That would be a real reasonable question. And I think you should really expect that in the next exam. Yeah, so be aware, I told you, I warned you. I'll try, yes, before we have exams, I will tell you what's coming up. I'm not going to try to surprise anybody. No, exams shouldn't be a surprise. Yes, there's the old comment, the course was complete. What was not covered in the lecture was covered in the exams. But we're not going to do that. No, I will tell you what's coming up, and it won't be tell me what I told you. It'll be do something. Okay. All right. Okay. The Bell-LaPadula model, you've probably heard of this. It has 4 levels, or you can have multiple levels, but almost always is implemented with 4 levels. The top is the highest level being top secret, below that is secret, and then confidential, and then nothing, unclassified. It's if you don't have the unclassified isn't really, well, it's everybody else who doesn't have unclassified means you don't have any clearance. So there's 3 levels of clearance: confidential, secret, and top secret. And both people and objects being documents, files, objects, whatever you want, have different clearance levels. They can either be, top secret, secret, confidential. Many of our graduate students and many of our undergraduate students will go off and work for the federal government in the area of computer security, particularly those who have scholarships that require you to do that, and they will almost always have to go out and get a clearance, security clearance. So they'll get a secret or top secret or confidential, depends on where you intend to work. If you want to work for the NSA, you have to get a top secret clearance. And it takes months. It doesn't cost you as a student getting the job, but it costs the agency that wants to hire you a lot of money, something like $60,000. So it's not cheap. Part of it is that they send agents out to ask questions about you. And when I was a full-time faculty member, the agents would come in regularly and ask me, what about Fred? And I'd have to tell them that Fred was trustworthy, loyal, helpful, and friendly, and that he did not advocate the overthrow of the government by force, which it used to be. That wasn't even a thought. I just, of course, he doesn't advocate the overthrow of the government by force. Nowadays, you gotta say that, did he? Where was he on January 6th? So yes, okay, so that's top secret, secret, confidential, and then nothing. So here's an example. We have objects and security level and people. People are subjects. And so Tanya can look at the personnel files. Sam, you can see people are levels, the different levels, unclassified. At the bottom is nothing. It means you have no classification. So you look at that. Now, if you want to read information, you have a subject is at a certain level. You can read information at that level. You can also read information at a lower level. So if somebody has secret clearance, they can read information that's marked secret, and they can read information that's confidential. They cannot read top secret. You can only read at your level or below. So the level of the object has to be at or below the level of the subject. Whoa, what happened there, dude? Watch out, questions coming up. Oh, that's really, I don't know what I touched, but don't do it again. Okay, yes, if you try to do this carefully. Yeah, okay, if you can see here, the subject can read object O if the level of the object is less than or equal level. Oh, and it also says if S has permission to read it. What is that? Well, you can have both mandatory access control, which is controlled by the levels, and then you still have discretionary access control, which is what we said you can allow or disallow individuals or groups to access things. It's what we talked about with Linux and Windows. That was all discretionary access control, and that operates along with the mandatory access control. So first thing it says, okay, can they do the mandatory stuff? If they can do the mandatory stuff, then did you discretionarily give them access? If all that is true, then they can access it. On the other hand, no. If, of course, the mandatory stuff being mandatory, if they don't have that sort of access, doesn't matter what the discretionary says, but if they have that access, then it looks at the discretionary and sees if you can further access. They both have to be true. So it's usually discussed as you can read down, you cannot read up. You can read information at your level or information at a lower level, but you can't read information at a higher level. That, of course, makes sense. Okay. Writing goes the other direction. Writing means you can write things at your level. You cannot write things at a lower level. And you can also write things at a higher level. We've got the star property, basically just like we saw before, that you can write it. In this case, the level of the object in which you are writing must be greater than or equal to your level. Yes.
So for writing and reading, the information still flows up for both of them?
No, reading, you can read from lower and read from your level, but you can't read from higher levels. Writing,
Back to the last slide, please. So it says information flows up, not down on both slides.
Oh, you.
how about that? Boy. You think somebody cut and paste to make that slide? Yes. This is true. The writing one, well, they're both sort of true. Okay, let me explain why they're both true. Okay, why? Yes, they're both true. In the reading, you can read things lower. So, you know, if you're a secret, you can read confidential, you can read things that are unclassified, of course. But you can't read top secret. That makes sense. Then, if you're writing things, you can write things at your own level, of course. You cannot write things at a lower level. You can write at a higher level. And why you can't write things at a lower level? Because if you could, then you could be writing secret information down to confidential, and then people with confidential could see it, and that would leak the information out. We're very concerned here about keeping confidentiality, that the information that's written at a secret, that is secret, remains at secret or top secret, and it can't be read by people who are confidential or nothing. Yes.
So let's say you're a person who has a secret clearance and you want to write something and you put it in top secret. Now, can you still read it?
Funny you should ask that question. Yes, we come under this rather unusual circumstance where you can write, say your secret, you can write a document that is top secret, and then you can't read it. Now, does that make sense? Well, okay, in some sense it does. There are ways that you might actually go through secret information and create something that's top secret, or even worse, go through unclassified information and come up with something that's secret or top secret. Big data, you know, everyone knows big data where you just comb through great quantities of data looking for relationships. Well, you can do that, and somebody might find a relationship that goes, oh, when they're just about to do this, that happens. And like knowing that might be something top secret. So you can write it up to the top secret level, even though you got the information from maybe unclassified information. By the way, yes. So
I'm still a little bit confused on how reading information flows up.
reading information because you can read, because a secret person can read confidential stuff. So now they got the confidential stuff and they read it to a secret level. And they don't make it secret, but the secret person can read the lower stuff. If you think of it, you know, here's the unclassified. I can't do this for the people in there, but you have a low level stuff and you move it up as you read it, and as you write it, it goes up. Yeah, strange as it might sound, but
Just to clarify, so it's basically whatever level you want to read anything under you within that high level. Okay.
yes, if you're reading your level or below, if you're writing your level and above. And as was pointed out, that means you can write a document that you can't read, which sounds really strange, but that is it. And hopefully you can see how you might gather information and find stuff that might be more secret you don't want. You know, somebody unclassified might find information that we don't want lying around. We're going to put it up there, confidential, secret, or top secret, maybe, yeah, top secret. And big data is an example of how you might do that. Yes. Oh, yeah. So what if you have something and you want to write it? Originally, that would be the discretion of the individual creating the data. Now, if you have if you're unclassified, I don't think they're going to let you write top secret documents. Yeah, that just doesn't make sense, does it? I'm not really sure how that works. That is a good question. Obviously, there's going to have to be some control over somebody saying what is, and the government has a policy for reviewing information and telling you what level it should be at. Somebody can look at this and say, oh, we're making that top secret. Occasionally they do. Occasionally the government will go, oh, this is ours, and you can't see it anymore. And yes, so big data and other ways. Big data, by the way, wasn't always done with computers. For decades, they had human beings going out there and doing things, looking up. They had security analysts out there doing things looking for. There's an old movie, probably about the same time Bell-LaPadula came out, 3 Days of the Condor, Robert Redford and some other people, where Robert Redford's just reads books. He's in the CIA. They have his little CIA office in the middle of nowhere, and he reads books, and so does everybody in the office. And they're just looking for information, seeing if they can find information in the book that relates to real world, in case somebody's trying to pass information off in books. Okay, interesting movie. All right. So is Bell-LaPadula secure? Well, yes, it is. That's why it's been around for so long. If it starts in a secure state, then every time if you read down, but you never read up, you can't move any information from a higher level to a lower level. Nothing, so you're safe. Things stay at their level. You can't move it to another level. Everybody got that? We're good with this? Then here comes a whole bunch of questions we're going to ask you. Time to get your clickers out and see if we can do this. Poll people online. That's not what I want. We're not getting where I want. I'm sorry, online people, but I'm working on as fast as I can. Oh. Okay. Okay, online people, you should see the question right now. I hope anybody confirm that you can. Oh, somebody just voted, so you can. Oh, many people. All right. Okay. Oh, phone. Yep. I don't know where I thought of this question. That's okay. Let's get your clickers up there, and we'll see. Okay, hold on. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. All right. One person had their card turned sideways, and yes, the answer is A, top secret. Any questions about that, everybody? Okay, so let's try. Okay, we got some more stuff here. All right, let's. Come on. Not having any luck here. I'm using one figure, two fingers. Whoa, that was not at all what I expected. Let's try.
You see your mouse, right?
Yeah, yes, I see. Two. How many fingers did I use? Whoa, 3 fingers is that. That's not at all what I want. Two does absolutely nothing. What? 4? Whole fist. Oh. How about my thumb? Oh, well, look at that. I didn't even know you could do that. Oh, hey. Do I have access to that? No. Oh, any suggestions here? We are.
It's used 3 fingers.
I've tried 2. There's 3. Can't get the, oh, yes, I have a Windows popped up, which has got the poll for the online people, and I can't get out of the, I can't get out of this window. I can't click anything else. I can't click. And that thing doesn't show up as a box, so I can't go to it. That's oh, weird. There's always some, isn't this fun? But let's,
Long time. It's okay to take a 5-minute break.
anybody have 4 better fingers than I do? Oh, look at that, it moves sideways. That's 4 fingers. 3 fingers does this. 2 fingers, 1 finger, 4, 4.
You could also try the window key and D.
Window D. That does this. Yeah, window-
Desktop, so you can then use the taskbar to.
Use which taskbar to, if I had a mouse at all now, oh, there's my mouse. Problem is, well, you can't see it. Now you can't see anything. That doesn't show up at, oh, good goodness, I can get over there. Die, all right. Oh, thank you. Yes, it's hard to get rid of. Okay, I apologize for the difficulties. All right, we got 2 past that. Let's get down to this question. All right, sorry for the, boy, it's hard to do this. All right, I'll have to edit that out of the online stuff. Okay, what we explained was the simple version of the Bell-LaPadula model. It gets a little more interesting because not only do you have levels, but you can have categories. Somebody might be top secret nuclear weapons, and somebody else might be top secret satellites. And you know, you don't want, just because you're top secret doesn't mean you can access everything, just your category. So basically what it means is you can, same Bell-LaPadula model, you can access things, you can read your level or lower, right, to your level or higher, but you have to match the groups. So people have not only a level, but we're using these groups like nuclear, Europe, and Asia. Yes.
Okay, so for this, can they be in multiple categories?
Oh, yes, this is to say that this
Just one
person or object is top secret, and they are in the nuclear Europe and Asia groups.
Mhm.
Yes, categories.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're going to define the relationship dominates. And dominates, there mathematically, you say everybody has a level, which is L, and a category, which is the C. So an object or a user, let's see here, let's just, I lost my, I wonder if that makes any difference. Maybe I just won't do that. If user has level A, user A, category A, and object B, then you can access it if the dominate means the level is greater than or equal to level, and the categories is a subset. So let's just look at the examples down here. Okay, if someone or something is top secret and has access to nuclear in Asia, then they dominate secret and nuclear because top secret level is greater than secret, and nuclear is a subset of nuclear Asia. Likewise, here, secret dominates confidential because, in fact, both the groups are exactly the same. The nuclear in Europe is a subset of nuclear in Europe. We allow complete subsets. Now, down here, we have a couple of knots. We're using the knots. Top secret nuclear does not dominate confidential Europe, because even though top secret is a higher level than confidential, Europe is not a subgroup of nuclear and nothing else. Also, down here, confidential Europe does not dominate top secret nuclear, which you'll notice, therefore, the relationship is not symmetrical. If one does not dominate the other, whereas up here we could have secret nuclear does not dominate top secret nuclear, but these two don't dominate each other. So it's a, and then top secret Europe does not dominate secret nuclear Europe. So even though they both have Europe in there, this is not a subset. That one, nuclear, let me see, let's go for it. Oh, geez, Louise. Control display disconnected. Where are we now? Hang on for us here. Let's just see. What do we have here? Look, that's what we want.
I think what you're experiencing is you, when you're on the slides,
Yeah,
when you put your fingers.
I think
on the back part,
dragging my
and
fingers.
you scroll up down, then it's on the slide, you scroll with it.
I'm not trying, I'm trying to scroll with the, well, okay.
Yeah, so that's-
Anyway, let's just, okay, I think we're not, hang on there online. We're not going anywhere. Dominance, found it. Okay. And now should be sharing. I wonder if we're still recording. We're still recording. Good. Okay. All right. Pull out all these mistakes. Oh, okay. Moving right along. Levels. Okay. So you get an order. Levels are obviously ordered, and then you've got dominates. It's very much like the symbol, the regular Bell-LaPadula, simple Bell-LaPadula, where you have just levels, and now we have levels and categories. You just have to match them. We use dominates instead of using the greater than. So reading, again, you can read for information at a lower level, but you can't read information at a higher level. You can always, of course, read at your level. And only if the subject, the person, dominates the object. That is, going back to the dominate, that is, the subject's level is greater than or equal to the level of the data, and the data's category is a subset of the person's category. Now, it's different on writing, and you know that you can write things at your level or write things at a higher level, which doesn't happen very often, by the way. You write things at a higher level, but the dominate is reversed. You can write if the object that you're writing dominates the user, dominates the subject. And again, it's still secure. We're just using dominates. Okay, everybody got that? So again, the important thing to remember is this dominate thing. That means the level, if you dominate, it means the level is greater than or equal to the level, and that the other objects categories are a subset, maybe a full subset of the other objects. So let's take a look at these. Let's try this one. I'm not going to try doing the poll here. We're having a really hard time with polls. Well, no, I'm going to boldly go and try a poll. That's not the right answer. Not the right question. Let's try. Is that it? But I had this. There we go. Bingo. Okay, online people, you're on. Now I can actually move my mouse around. Anyway, okay. All right. Okay, how about folks here in our live studio audience? You got the answer? Let's go for it. Type of access. How can you read this? Okay, Paul wants to access. Access means you want to, can they read it? Can they only write it? Can they both is read and write, of course? And no, they don't have it. None means they don't have any access to it. So what can Paul do with this document? Can he read it? Can he write it? Can he do nothing? Okay, we have an answer there. All right. Let me record that with my little. Okay. Of course, remember the thing with the cards is that It's really hard for somebody else to see what your card is, unless they see a little bit. It's even hard to see what the card is. We got it. All right. All right. The most popular answer for both of them is both, which is the wrong answer. Let's talk about this. Okay. Okay. Paul's top secret AC. He wants to read documents, secret in categories B and C. Now, top secret is greater than secret. Good, you can read it. But BC is not a subset of AC. The document has B in it. It is in category B. And Paul is not cleared for category B. He's clear for category A, he's clear for category C, but he's not clear for category B. So Paul cannot access that document because he's not in that category. You got that? The answer is none. None. Yep, none. Okay.
I have a quick question about this.
Fire away. Yes, what's your question?
Assuming that secret was AC instead, would the right answer be he can only read it?
Oh, you are correct. If the answer was yes, if Paul had, excuse me, if the document was secret AC, then that would be a subset of the other AC of Paul, and Paul could have read it. You are correct. Okay, good point. Excuse me? It was just C, and if it was just C with no B, same thing, you could have read it. You read it because it's a lower level. Okay. All right, let's try another one. How about this one? Okay. All right, everybody got your cards? Get the proper side up. Okay, let's try again. Get your cards up. And oh, you're hiding behind him. I can't see your card. Oh, gotta put it up. There you go. All right. Okay. All right, good. Most people, the great majority of the people said none, and that is correct. The answer is none because the document is in category B. Mary is not clear for category B, even though they're at the same level, it's a different category. All right, let's try another one. Hang on there, online people. We'll just reset this.
What did ABC represent again? I forgot.
Is this the second? Is this the new? Is this the same question as last time? No, it's a new question. Okay. Question about the question.
So the C category, what did A, B, and C represent again?
Just categories. It could be nuclear weapons or diplomatic couriers or who our agents are.
So when it matters, is like read or write. They're not, like,
Oh, yes. Yes. We want to know, what can Fred do with this document? Can Fred read it? Can Fred write it? Can he both read and write it? Or can he do anything with it? Okay. And do we just pull this? No, we just pull it. Yes. What question? It's top secret, secret, confidential. Can we just do this? We'll do it again. Okay. We scanned this before. Come on. Let's go. Buttons, come on. Okay, put them up so I can see them. Maybe, now we're running, okay. Oh, you yeah, okay. Okay. Yes, all right. Fred can read the object. because the object at a lower level, you can read lower levels, and the categories match. Okay, good for that. So most people got that one right. Okay, let's try. I think we have, oh, we have two more. Bear with me. Okay, let's try this one. Okay, getting good at this. Getting screwed up. Oh, this is our last one. Last one coming up here. This is an easy one. You should have known this one. Okay, put them up. American Sign Language, or you gotta hold up straight there. Okay, yeah, good. Remember- So a question out there? Okay, almost. It's just 4 people out of 20 some. I got it wrong, but almost everybody says none. Yes. If Joe has no clearance, no, Joe can't go looking at anything that's classified in any way. No. Oh, categories. Yeah, okay, yes. Now, it is weird about
So category.
categories, this type of categories. And because Joe doesn't have any classification, he doesn't have any categories. Okay, all good with that? Let's move on to something more interesting, maybe.
Examples of writing, I would like to see that. You have an example for it?
Oh,
Or the individual writing? Scenario.
no, I think if you have no clearance is kind of different. In the practical sense, no clearance means you can't do anything. People that no clearance can't access anything except things that are unclear, things that have no classification. Like the phone book usually is unclassified, you can read the phone book.
If it's like you put it right in that space, if it's like the same.
Right, yeah, you can't write up, that would be, yeah. I think in this case, write up doesn't really make sense. Okay, now, the system works sort of. There are some issues. Let's imagine here we have our kernel is secret, cleared for nuclear in Europe, and the major is also secret, cleared for Europe. Now, the kernel can read a message from the major because the major will send a message and it will be labeled secret Europe, and that is the kernel dominates that, and so we can read it. Bingo, got it, great. But the major can't read a message from the kernel because the kernel writes when it had to be at secret. The object the kernel to read would have to be secret Europe, but the kernel is secret Europe nuclear, and it doesn't dominate. Therefore, you cannot write that object. And since you can't write, the major can't. So you can. It makes no sense for one person to talk, but can't talk back to you. Well, it's a real problem if you're trying to communicate with somebody. So what they do to fix this is they have this idea of maximum level and current level. You can drop your current level under certain circumstances, as long as your current level is dominated by your maximum level. In other words, you can drop to a level of less security. So to current previous problem, the major treats you treat the major as an object, kernel is going to write to him or her, and then the kernel, which has maximum level, as we showed the problem before, kernel is maximum nuclear in Europe, will drop down to just be Europe, skip that nuclear, and now they can communicate back and forth without violating any rules. Now, you don't want people going around changing all there's the principle of tranquility. Principle of tranquility says things are not going to change their security levels. Because raising the security level has a problem, because raising the security level means that something that was once available to a group becomes no longer available. And that's not really good, because often if it's available to that one group, they've seen it. The government has this habit of trying to restrict access to objects that have been in the public for a while, and they go, oh, I don't want you to know that, and they pull it. Well, people saw it, and they're not about to not tell anyone else. So that does have a problem. There's two flavors to tranquility. There is strong and weak tranquility. I can see some of you are trying to be tranquil right now. Strong tranquility means you never, ever change the classification or categories of an object or a person. That's it. You create them that way, you don't. Weak tranquility says you can do it as long as it doesn't violate the star problem, the star property. In other words, as long as the minimum or the current category is dominated by your maximum category, you're okay. That has an advantage because you can start things at a low privilege. You can give everything, the least privilege. Remember the principle of least privilege, you give them the least privileges they need. You can start with that, and then they can go up to their maximum privilege if they need to, but not until they need to. We also have a problem with declassification, and that's where we're going to declassify something so that we're going to write down. In other words, we have an object that's currently classified, let's say secret, and we're going to make it just classified. That would be writing down. How do you do that? Well, there's procedures for that. Typically, somebody has to look at the data and sanitize it or redact it, take out stuff that shouldn't go down. So particularly if you're going to go from any confidential secret or top secret, go to unclassified, it has to be cleaned to make sure that, yes, this information can be released. This has been in the news a lot. A couple weeks ago, former president's Mar-a-Lago place had a raid by the Department of Justice. The FBI went in and grabbed some documents that were said to be classified. One of his defenses, the former president says that he declassified the objects while he was president. And that if he declassified them, the president has considerable power to classify and declassify things, that if you declassified them, then taking declassified things isn't too much of a problem for classification. Although there is also an act about presidential papers, they all have to go to the presidential archive. That's a separate issue. And we're not going to go into politics here. We're just going to mention that, yes, you probably see that they were talking about secret and top secret items, and this is what they're talking about. Also, they occasionally mention areas, like where is it nuclear top secret or that sort of stuff. Okay, that's enough of the Bell-LaPadula model. Let's talk about, and that's a confidentiality process. We'll talk about integrity. Most industries, companies have more concern about keeping their information without being changed, as opposed to having it seen. My big example is, imagine you got a warehouse system. And in the warehouse, you've got guys out there who are packing boxes, and then you've got purchasers who are buying stuff come in, and then you've got managers who are analyzing what's in the warehouse. Well, you don't want everybody to be able to write everywhere, although you don't care too much if they see what you've got. You're concerned about changing things that are inaccurate. So you're more concerned about integrity. So there are integrity models. And again, the integrity models do the obvious. They want to prevent unauthorized, they want to prevent people who are unauthorized from making changes. And also prevent people who are authorized, people who are part of the system. In other words, the first one is people who aren't employees, they can't change them. And then people who are employees can't change things that shouldn't change. And then making sure that the real world and the system are consistent, that you don't get out of consistency. So those are the three goals of integrity models. And there's a model for that, the Biba integrity model, which has been around almost as long as the Bell-LaPadula model. It's been around for integrity. And it's important that it's designed to not corrupt data. So you can't write data that might be corrupted by lower data. You can't, well, here, let's go over the rules. It makes more sense. It's the complete opposite of the Bell-LaPadula model. So we care about, again, we have levels, and we have, in this case, just levels. Let's skip the categories for now. We have levels, and we'll just call them level 1, 2, and 3, level 1 being the highest. The security model is the opposite of Bell-LaPadula. You can not read down, you can only read up, or at the same level. You can write at the same level, or you can write down. You cannot write up. So it means a person can write data at a lower level, but they can't change more secure objects. They can read more secure objects, but they can't read less secure objects. I copied this from someplace, I don't even remember where I got this, but I like this. We have monks and high priests. So users can only create content at or below their own integrity level. So a monk can write a prayer book that people at the lower level, assuming the commoners are unclassified, that he can write a book that they may read. So you can write to lower levels, but you can't write to higher levels. You can't write a book that the high priest is supposed to read. On the other hand, the monk can read from the high levels. Complete opposite of Bell-LaPadula. They can read. If the high priest write a book, the monk can read it. And also, of course, the commoners can read it. But the monk cannot read a pamphlet written by the commoners who are unclassified. So it's the opposite. And this maintains integrity. Got that? So in other words, you're not corrupting things because you can't look at information at a lower security level that might not be as secure or is that as integrity, doesn't have the level of integrity as yours does. You can't get or read less information that has less integrity than your level. You may read information that has higher integrity. Likewise, you can write information because you don't care about confidentiality, we're caring about integrity. So you can write things down to lower level because that will just bring higher integrity information down to lower level. That's okay. Now, the Biba model does not have categories. And I thought about, first I was going to say, oh, you could easily add categories to this, but the more I thought about it, it isn't as easy as I thought. How might we add categories? Well, writing, of course, we write down, same thing as, you can write down, you can't write up, you write at the same level. But how about categories? Well, you can't write into something that doesn't have a different category because then you'd be corrupting that category. So I'm thinking again, how about read? Should you be able to, since you can read from a higher level, but can you read things that have different categories? Yeah, you remember confidentiality is important. We're talking about integrity. So you might be able to read from things that have different categories than yours. Anyway, yes, it isn't as clear as what you want. I'm sure somebody somewhere talked about this, but didn't talk about it in the textbook. And I decided, and they didn't talk about it on Wikipedia. So I decided not to look any farther and say, I wonder how they do that, or if they ever do that. Okay, that was confidentiality is the Bell-LaPadula model. Integrity is the Biba model, because you remember the CIA, confidentiality, and availability. Availability models are pretty rare. Well, your textbook has a whole chapter on it, and blah, 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 blah. I read it. Read section 7.1. I wouldn't bother going any farther. It wasn't very nourishing to me. But basically, the availability models have two parts. They have a user agreement, which is a set of rules that they follow to prevent denial of service. Because remember, availability means you're not going to prevent others from using the system. So that means you're not basically denial of service. You're not going to stop another group or your group, anybody from not using the system. You can use it and you can't stop others from using it. So you have follow rules. And then it's important that they be able to access it with a specific amount of time, that you state how long they can get to it. So finite waiting time. And in that finite waiting time, you want it to be fair and that everybody should be able to access it. And what somebody does should not lock out somebody else's access. So that's it for availability policies. Confidentiality was well detailed. There's a bunch of stuff on integrity, but availability, there's nothing much there. Okay, that's it for today. A couple of reminders. Monday, don't be here and near 128 Monday unless you bring your laptop and you want to watch online. But it's only going to be online. And of course, I emailed everybody the link. The link is in the syllabus. And of course, the lecture will be recorded. Textbook. These are the sections of the textbook. Please read chapter 10 for Monday, because when our TA talks about encryption, it's in chapter 10. I'll also talk more about it on Wednesday and Monday again. Okay, that's it. No, but you can see part of it's coming up here. It's, we have access to, I'm starting to fill it out. I think I filled it out. I'll just write down what I did and we're done. Uh,